You work hard. You save diligently. You pay your taxes, income tax, sales tax, property tax. You think you know exactly where your money is going. But what if I told you there is a tax, a brutal, relentless tax, that you pay every single day without ever seeing a bill? A tax that doesn't go to the IRS or the government, but simply vanishes your wealth into thin air. It's a tax that has quietly stolen more from the average American family than all other taxes combined in recent years. And right now, it's costing you, on average, a staggering 7% of your purchasing power. This is the 7% tax you pay without knowing. And by the end of this script, you will know exactly what it is, how it works, and most importantly, how to fight back against this invisible thief. This isn't about some obscure loophole or a forgotten state levy. This is about the fundamental mechanism that is silently eroding your financial future. This is the truth about inflation, the most insidious hidden tax of all. Think about the last time you went grocery shopping. Did your basket feel lighter, but your receipt heavier? That's the 7% tax in action. It's not a line item on your receipt. It's the absence of what you could have bought last year. In 2022, the Consumer Price Index, the official measure of inflation, hit a peak of 1%. But even when it cools down, the cumulative effect is devastating. For a long period, the annual rate hovered around 7%. That means if you had $100 in savings, you didn't lose $7,000 to a government levy, but the value of that $100,000 dropped by $7,000 in terms of what it could buy. It's a stealth tax on your savings, your wages, and your future. The government doesn't need to raise the income tax rate when they can simply print more money and let inflation do the dirty work for them. This is the financial reality they don't want you to fully grasp. Block 02, the mechanism of erosion. So, how does this tax actually work? Inflation is defined as the general increase in the prices of goods and services in an economy over time, resulting in a fall in the purchasing power of money. When the government or the central bank increases the money supply faster than the economy can produce goods and services, the value of each individual dollar decreases. This is the core mechanism. It's a simple supply and demand problem applied to currency. More dollars chasing the same amount of goods means prices must rise. Before we dive deeper into the historical context and the strategies to protect your wealth, if you find this information valuable and want to stay ahead of the financial curve, please take a second to hit the like button and subscribe to Mac Invests. Your support helps us expose these hidden financial truths. Now, back to the hidden tax. The 7% figure is a powerful average. It represents the rate at which your money is being devalued. Imagine a government deciding to take 7% of every dollar you own every year. There would be riots in the streets. Yet, when the same effect is achieved through monetary policy, through the quiet technical process of money creation, most people remain oblivious until it's too late. This is why it's so insidious. It bypasses the democratic process of taxation and operates through the opaque machinery of the Federal Reserve. The tax is levied on everyone, but it disproportionately affects those who can least afford it. If you are wealthy, your assets, stocks, real estate, businesses tend to appreciate at a rate that outpaces inflation. Your wealth is protected. But if you are a saver, holding cash in a standard bank account earning 0.5% interest, you're effectively paying the full 7% tax. You are watching your life savings shrink in real terms year after year. This is a massive transfer of wealth from the poor and middle class to the asset-rich. Block 03, the disproportionate burden. Let's break down who the primary victims of the 7% hidden tax are. First, the savers. The traditional advice, save your money in a bank, is now a guaranteed path to financial loss. If inflation is 7% and your savings account yields 1%, your real rate of return is 6%. You are actively losing money. This punishes prudence and forces people into riskier investments just to maintain their purchasing power. Second, the fixed income earners and retirees. People living on pensions, Social Security or fixed annuities are devastated. Their income is fixed, but the cost of living is rising at 7% or more. Their quality of life degrades rapidly. A retiree who planned for a comfortable retirement finds their budget stretched thin, forced to make impossible choices between medication and food. Third, the wage earners. If your annual raise is 3%, but inflation is 7%, your real wage has been cut by 4%. You are working harder for less. This creates a deep sense of economic injustice. Companies often tout nominal wage increases, but the true measure is the real wage, what your paycheck can actually buy. For millions, the hidden tax has meant a pay cut every year. Consider the cost of housing. Rent and home prices have soared, far exceeding the official inflation numbers in many areas. This is the hidden tax on shelter. The cost of education, the cost of healthcare, these are the areas where the 7% tax is most aggressively applied, ensuring that the ladder of upward mobility is constantly being pulled away from those trying to climb it. This is not just an economic issue. It is a social and moral crisis disguised as a technical financial term. Block 04, the government's hand in the stealth tax. The hidden tax is not a natural disaster. It is a policy choice. It is the direct result of decisions made by central banks and governments. The primary driver is the expansion of the money supply. When the Federal Reserve engages in quantitative easing, buying up government bonds and other securities, they are injecting trillions of new dollars into the financial system. This new money doesn't magically create new goods. It simply dilutes the value of the existing currency. This is the direct mechanism by which the 7% tax is levied. It is a subtle form of debt monetization. The government spends money it doesn't have, and the central bank creates the currency to cover the debt, passing the cost onto the public through devaluation. Furthermore, massive fiscal spending by the government, especially when not matched by increased productivity, fuels demand far beyond the economy's capacity to supply. Stimulus checks, infrastructure bills, and other large programs, while often politically popular, pour fuel on the inflationary fire. The result is a classic case of too much money chasing too few goods, leading directly to the hidden tax. The central bank's response, raising interest rates, is often too little, too late. The process of tightening the money supply is painful and slow, often leading to economic slowdowns or recessions. They are essentially trying to clean up the mess they helped create, and the public pays the price twice. First through the 7% tax, and then through the economic pain of the cure. Understanding this relationship between monetary policy and your wallet is the first step to financial freedom. Block 05, a history of erosion. The 7% tax is not a new phenomenon. History is littered with examples of governments using inflation to solve their debt problems, always at the expense of the populace. Look back at the 70s. This was the last great era of high, sustained inflation in the United States, often reaching double digits. The term stagflation, stagnant economic growth coupled with high inflation, became the defining economic nightmare. The hidden tax was even higher then, but the mechanism was the same. Excessive money creation and external shocks combining to erode purchasing power. It took drastic, painful measures, like Paul Volcker raising interest rates to nearly 20%, to finally break the back of inflation. The lesson is clear. Once the hidden tax takes hold, it is incredibly difficult and costly to remove. Even further back, the history of currency is a history of debasement. Roman emperors would shave off small amounts of precious metal from coins and reissue them, effectively creating more currency and causing inflation. The modern equivalent is simply hitting the print button on a digital ledger. The method has changed, but the outcome is identical. The state secretly reduces the value of your money to fund its own expenditures. The 7% tax is just the latest iteration of a centuries-old financial deception. Recognizing this pattern is crucial for protecting your long-term wealth. Block 06, Fighting Back, the anti-tax strategies. You cannot simply opt out of the 7% tax, but you can build a financial fortress to minimize its impact. The key is to shift your mindset from a saver to an investor. Strategy 1. Asset allocation. Cash is a liability in an inflationary environment. You must own assets that appreciate faster than the rate of inflation. This includes stocks, specifically companies with strong pricing power that can pass their increased costs onto consumers. Look for businesses with high margins and low debt. Real estate. Historically, real estate has been an excellent hedge against inflation, as property values and rental income tend to rise with the cost of living. Commodities, hard assets. Gold, silver, and other commodities often perform well when the dollar is weakening. They are a store of value that cannot be printed. Strategy 2. Debt management. Inflation is a friend to debtors and an enemy to creditors. If you have a fixed-rate mortgage at 3% and inflation is 7%, the real value of your debt is shrinking every year. The dollars you use to pay off the debt in the future are worth less than the dollars you borrowed. This is one of the few ways the hidden tax can work for you. However, avoid variable rate debt, as rising interest rates, the cure for inflation, will crush you. Strategy 3. Increase your human capital. Your greatest asset is your ability to earn. Invest in skills, education, and certifications that allow you to demand higher wages that outpace the 7% tax. If your income growth is 10%, a 7% tax still leaves you with a 3% real gain. This is the most direct and powerful way to combat the erosion of your purchasing power. Strategy 4. Inflation-protected securities. Instruments like Treasury. Inflation-protected securities are designed to adjust their principal value based on changes in the CPI. While not the highest-yielding investment, they offer a guaranteed floor against the hidden tax. The goal is not to get rich overnight, but to ensure that the 7% tax does not silently bankrupt your future. Block Erosion, the final warning and the path forward. The 7% tax you pay without knowing is real. It is not a conspiracy theory. It is a measurable economic reality. It is the silent, systemic devaluation of your money, a hidden transfer of wealth from the financially uneducated to the asset-rich and the state. We have identified the thief: inflation. Driven by excessive money supply and government spending, we have quantified the cost: 7% of your purchasing power year after year. And we have outlined the defense: invest in assets, manage debt wisely, and increase your earning power. The greatest danger is not the tax itself, but the ignorance of its existence. Once you recognize the mechanism, you can no longer be a passive victim. You are now armed with the knowledge to protect your family's financial future. The time for complacency is over. If you found this deep dive into the hidden tax illuminating, share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Hit the like button, subscribe to Mac Invests for more essential financial truths, and let me know in the comments, what is the most shocking price increase you've noticed recently? Your action today is the only way to ensure you stop paying the 7% tax you pay without knowing. Thank you for watching.